G'day everyone and welcome to my coverage of the 2023 Adelaide Model Railway Show, which was held on June 10th to 12th at the Greyhound Racing Park, South Australia. This exhibition report and other videos on this channel were made possible by the Patreons on Patreon. And if you are interested in finding out more about Patreon and how to get early access to videos while still supporting the production of these videos, I'll leave all the appropriate links in the description below. As well as that, this exhibition report was also brought to you by Trackside Models, who build high quality laser cut kits. If this is your first time, or perhaps you're returning to the channel, don't forget to be subscribed so you can keep up to date with all the videos that I have coming out frequently, which cover both big and small trains. Anyway, let's take a look at this year's exhibition. So let's start with antiques or toys from the classic train collectors. Model trains range from scale models to craftsman created to cheap toys for children to run along the ground. The earliest models were engineering miniatures produced for the manufacturers of full-size locomotives to demonstrate their products to potential purchasers. The toys came shortly afterwards. The width of the track indicates the scale of the model, starting with gauge 1 at 45mm. In the 19th century, then O gauge, and from the 1920s to OO, and HO after the Second World War. Members of the classic train collectors enjoy finding, restoring, and running commercially produced O gauge, standard gauge, and OO model trains from the past and the present. Their interests include many classic makers such as Bassac-Loeb, Leeds and Exley of England, Bing and Marklin of Germany, K-Line and Lionel from the United States, while in Australia there was Ferris, Marulin and Robilt. Morgan to Cadell. This layout is based on the real proposals to extend the former Morgan railway line all the way to Barramar. The layout is set in the transition era between the South Australian Railways and the Australian National Railways. The railway travels through and out of the town of Morgan until it crosses the Murray River opposite the town of Cadell. It passes through Cadell and then heads to its next destination, Wallakiri, disappearing behind the back scene. In order to make the layout easy to transport and set up, they have built it to the T-Track modular system, and they have strived to create a high standard of modelling. The South Australian Railway Modellers Association caters for modellers for most scales and skill levels. This is their 4th exhibition layout in N scale.
That's wonderful. So what was the reason they didn't build the railway? Back 30, I don't think it's going to
Somewhere in Europe by the Marklin Model Railway Club of South Australia. This club was formed in July 1971 and runs European HO scale outline mainly from the manufacturer Marklin. Their club rooms are situated at the Penfield Sports Association building in Penfield. This is a 3-rail AC operation where the power is gained from the stud in the centre rail, with engines having a shoe located underneath between the wheels. The layout consists of modules bolted together to form a parallel track configuration. It is controlled with a central station 3+, with all the equipment having a digital chip so they have their own unique address, and the operations to German standards. The scenery depicted is that of somewhere in Europe, of a generic cities, towns and countrysides. Trains and rolling stock from all parts of Europe as far back as the early 1900s up to today can be seen running on this layout.
I'm one of those shameless publicity whores when it comes to my trains. Take all the photos.
No, it's good. Right.
It's a very specific point in time, very specific part of Europe.
Cabinets. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun. They do. Because it's the only way that I can get it's all legit now, it's all parts, it's all everything into it. That would be great. Right.
Ampney in O-scale. Ampney represents the terminus of a branch line in the Cotswolds area of England. It was not intended to be the terminus of the line, but the original builders ran out of money and the line was taken over by the Great Western Railway, who made improvements but did not extend it. This model has been built to a scale of 1 in 43.5, also known as O scale, which is twice the size of HO or OO scales. This is the same size as the vintage trains on the classic model train stand, and shows some of the models currently available, whether from kit or ready to run form.
Station edging.
And remove them if the people get upset. So
Right. No, I came across yesterday, and yeah.
N-scale layout, ScaleN V&SAR. The purpose of this layout is to introduce the newcomer to the T-Track modular system and to show examples on how to save money. T-Track modules are dioramas which are built up by different people and brought together to make this layout, hence the disparity in scenery not necessarily following. They are basically different dioramas built on T-Track modules. A lot of scenery is made up using pieces located around the home and repurposed to make something new, hence saving money. This layout can be run as DC or DCC, and during the weekend they were running DC. The models are designed to fit on tables but could easily be set up on any flat surface. And the convenient size of the modules does make them quite easy to store. Reflections 2 is a group layout able to feature British, continental, American and Australian ready-to-run model trains, being either passenger or freight stock, which can be purchased at, well, your local model railway shop. This is an exhibition layout which reflects no real era nor location. The Pico Streamline IOD code track and large points are used. It is analog in operation through Hammett and Morgan transformers on 3 continuous tracks with passing loops, a dockside area, a station, a turntable and a small village. And this layout is in 4 sections and fits in a 6x4 foot trailer.
The layout is over quite nice. Yeah. Right.
Something a little bit different, Thomas the Tank Engine, which was in G scale. This 3-track tail chaser shows you, well, what you could achieve in a garden situation. You could have your very own island of Sodor. Borderline is based on a fictitious township along the South Australian and Victoria border, modelled in the 1980s era of South Australian Railways renaming themselves into Australian National. This layout sees a colourful array of rolling stock utilised during this transition. The layout features through running of trains from both states, including the transition from Victorian Railways to the introduction of V-Line's orange and grey. This is a DCC layout with all locomotives having working sound. The HO scale layout features 2 main running lines and a large 4-road yard for shunting freight, along with a grain facility, cement works, petroleum depot and a stockyard. Hidden from view is a 10-road fiddle yard to keep a wide variety of trains moving throughout the layout.
sir. Thank you very much. Yes, yes. No, it's all right. No, yeah, that's all good. Thank you. You enjoying the show? Ah, right, right.
Easily one of the best layouts in show was Porthminster. This 00 scale layout was designed and built by Gavin Thrum, who has been building award-winning exhibition layouts since the 1980s. Portrayed in this layout is a fictitious slice of countryside from Cornwall in the southwest of England. The model is an adaptation of the main line between London and Penzance, and the branch line to the seaside resort of St Ives, operated by the Great Western Railway Company. The era is set between 1925 and 1934, with passenger trains in the GWR's distinct chocolate and cream colour scheme, and the uniformly coloured green engines. Buildings lined with cobblestone streets, high above the sea level, feature in the coastal town. Modelled here with the Brunel Cornish Viaduct and fishing community. The mainline junction station of Penwith sweeps through the gentle curves and the common English stations of a century ago. This layout, I do believe, won the best in show, and it's not hard to see why.
Oh, enlighten me, but okay. Oh, that's way easier. Fantastic. I'm right to keep that, yeah?
Everything else would have been the same, apart from the horses and carts, but yeah. Ooh, braver than me. I did it before, I knew it was going to work. Getting a few votes. Sorry? Getting a few votes.
Oh, I reckon. Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
Like I say, I understand my second session, but I'm coming in and out lovely. That's a shame. Yeah, at least when this comes back in, I suppose we just don't take that slip coach all the way in.
HO scale layout Lakeside from the Noarlunga Model Railroaders. This layout is designed for ease of operation. It's light, simple and easily transported, and low mounted to facilitate the use as a mobile display, and it can be operated by 3 or 4 members. Low height is of course an advantage for smaller children and residents of nursing homes, which is the main reason for the design. The scenery consists of polystyrene foam and kit buildings that are generic in nature, and the layout is entirely DCC controlled. Train consists are mainly from the United States, Australia and British in origin, spanning many decades from steam to second generation diesels.
Your train?
Yeah, you're pretty close there. If they've not released yet, they're probably already sold out. That thing's gonna sell. I don't know if they're out yet. Just when they release, do not think about it. Just buy them. Like it's unfortunate way, but there's
Another fantastic layout of this exhibition is West Croydon Railway Station in 1959. The real station is located 10 minutes by train northwest of Adelaide on the Port Line. The mission of this 5-year project was to recapture the romance of the South Australian railways and what the station and the surrounding areas of West Croydon used to look like. The Rosetta Street subway was built in 1909, with the station buildings constructed in 1915. Unfortunately, in 1978, the station buildings were burnt down. The station's design is unique and unlike any other on the South Australian Railways network, with other passenger platforms being built over the subway. Passenger services that passed through included Henley Beach, Hendon, Semaphore, Outer Harbour, Port Dock and Woodville North. And if you want to find out more about West Croydon Railway Station in 1959, be sure to check out the other video I made with James on this layout here.
Stand up to the bullies. I think your role is fantastic.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Not everything is for everybody, but I think it's fantastic.
No, I really appreciate
Hang
it.
in there.
Thank you.
It's the best modern rail from Australia.
Thank you so much.
Uphill logging, a micro layout in G-Scale. The overall theme of this layout is a logging camp, and a number of scenes have been drawn from viewing photographs of logging camps and have been compacted for viewing here. Several scenes have also been automated. The camp is set by a river, which is not modelled, though 2 billabongs are depicted. The bridge leads to a staging yard which has light scenic touches to indicate town and country life. Locomotives and rolling stock are drawn from the Kangaroo and Cockatoo Railway collection, and many were used on the K and CR at exhibitions. Steam, petrol and diesel locomotives can all be seen working this line. There is also a variety of commercial items used, some built from kits and others homemade. All buildings, structures, trees and figures are also scratch built. Pappas old trains. This layout consists mainly of pre-war Hornby tinplate trains, similar to those that many thousands of children played with in those days. This layout has track with radii of 30, 24, 12 and 9 inches to keep it simple. As well as that, they've not included points. Most of the locomotives have been converted from clockwork to 12 volts DC. which makes it easier for, well, anyone to operate this layout from the seated position. Somewhere in the Mallee, this Australian theme layout was begun by the late Dean Richardson. The centre of the display shows the overall design of a town, somewhere in the Mallee. The layout is still a slow work in progress, and the goal is to appear as a South Australian country town, with the outer tracks to give the impression of express running between Melbourne and Adelaide.
Where are you based? Oh. I didn't realise that.
Now, something a little bit different was from the Victoria and South Australian Railways Lego modelers. This layout is a collection of scenes from a bygone era, modelled in Lego, and the layout features a collection of Victorian South Australian Railways rolling stock, recreated in Lego brick scale at 1:45. Now, this layout was enormous, and probably one of the most interesting and well-presented Lego layouts I think I've ever seen. The layout incorporated something which is, I guess, unique to some of these southern states, especially around South Australia, which is dual gauge track. Half of the layout was narrow gauge, which I guess isn't strictly, well, Lego, as from what I was told, a lot of the track is 3D printed. But I don't mind. I think this was, well, very unique and extremely interesting. And I probably wasn't the only one, as it did seem to be quite a crowd favourite. As well as that, it also did have, well, broad gauge. And in some places, you had dual track. I think this was a fantastic layout, and one that I was very impressed to see.
Yes. Yeah, gotcha. Nah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought like all the Ballarat, like all the steam round stuff, we're all in Ballarat this weekend. I was like, oh, nah, I think I'm gonna go to Adelaide. Right. Seems to be going right. I need to leave the drivers on the wide because
Welcome to Portland, a generic American setting with massive unit trains running through the vast scenery, showcasing some of what the best of N-Gauge has to offer. With control systems using traditional analog control, as well as computer-supported DCC operations via mobile phones. There is truly something here for everyone's taste. This layout is owned and run by members of the South Australian N-Gauge Society. You'll see a variety of trains running on this layout from the members, from huge North American freight and passenger trains to Japanese bullet trains, even some local favourites. This layout consists of naval dockyards, the Maersk container ships, or possibly even a hospital ship in the commercial terminal area. Shunting movements delivering cargo from the dock to the industrial yards will provide endless entertainment for, well, everyone. The long sweeping curves provide excellent viewing angles to just see why N-Gauge is the best option if you do want to run realistic trains through vast scenery. The South Australian N-Gauge Society is always welcoming visitors and new members, and if you are into N-Gauge and are looking for a club to gain ideas and experience, then do reach out to them.
when daylight savings kicks back in. Because that's like every trip I've been on, like when daylight savings isn't on. Yeah, you're half an hour different, right? Oh, well, there we go. So impressive when you have smoke units against that's
Alamosa and Western in Owen 30, which represents a 3-foot narrow gauge line running from Alamosa in Colorado to the mountain areas of Colorado. It has a connection with the Denver, Rio Grande and Western at Alamosa, hence why some D, R, G and W trains may also be seen. Traffic on the A and W consists of general goods, livestock and mineral traffic. Passenger traffic is much larger this year with the purchase of an additional passenger cars. Yarra is the station represented here, and it is typical of the area with a general store, hotel, adobe-style housing, and a small industrial quarry. All buildings are scratch built with the exception of the station, which is a laser-cut timber kit. Operation is single bi-directional running, with trains crossing each other at Yarra. Operation is handled by 2 operators using DCC control, and all motive power is sound equipped.
I love the choo-choo ones. I'm trying to convince my husband to turn the lounge room into a train set. He's resisting. I don't know why.
HO Scale Layout Warehouse Alley, which is a 1950s themed American switching layout. However, on the weekend, it was running Australian locomotives and rolling stock. This HO Scale layout has 5 rail-served industries in a compact 350mm wide layout. So something, I guess, a bit different, as you did have to walk into this layout to view it, and I guess it kind of could be a representation of what you could do with a spare bedroom. DCN T-Track, which was another layout demonstrating the T-Track modular railway system, being that it is a versatile tabletop system and can be used in many different ways. This layout saw no set format to the scenery on each of the modules, and each module is of course standalone. They can be fitted where the modules are grouped together to form, for an example, a seaport or railway yard. The rolling stock on this layout was from around the world. It could be locomotives, steam and diesel and electric from the United States, Great Britain, Japan and Australia. The Southern Central Railroad is a switching layout built on a common theme to entertain whilst also only needing a small footprint. Ideal for those without space or time to build a full empire-sized layout, or just for those starting out. With the small size, a switching layout can take up less time and less cost to build, and can also be tucked out of the way and set up quickly to deliver many hours of entertainment. This layout is powered by an NCE DCC system. HO scale layout generation gap. This layout was inspired by many camping holidays to the Flinders Ranges, and the creator Marty Fox also always wanted to build a model based on the wonderful South Australian outback. All the generations of his family were involved in building this model, from the grandparents, parents, and, well, the kids. They spent many hours on a Sunday night in a cold shed making this model, where creative ideas were shared out on, well, what to call this layout. The locomotives used on Generation Gap also span the 3 generations, the 1950s Triang, the 80s Lima models, to current Hornby models. This layout was built between 2019 and 2023.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You will. Good to meet you.
Put this little beast on. Oh. That's why I put the little barrier on the end there.
Shinkansen Parade featuring Dr. Yellow. Presenting modern day Japan with busy vistas and major facilities including marine and aircraft museums, a movie studio with a Titanic set visible on the backlot, the Hello Kitty Express, a major port scene, historical castles, several Shinto shrines, and typical Japanese gardens. Japanese vehicles in all shapes and sizes flood the mountains. The Australian N-Scale T-Track modular system is the basis for this layout. Standard modules of lightweight MDF construction are made in 3 sizes, which are 308, 618 and 928mm long, with modules being 300mm deep. Inner and outer corner modules are also included, so that more interesting layouts can be formed, or for situations where space is a premium. T-Track uses the Cardo Unitrack system, which has 2 main lines on each module. The track connectors hold the module together and also carry the 12 volt across the tracks. Osrail, who are one of the manufacturers, wholesalers and retailers of model trains and accessories, had a rather interesting layout there, as they are the exclusive South Australian home of the new Hornby TT 120 range, and had a diorama built with all the currently available Hornby TT rolling stock and buildings available. This was the first time in Australia that we've actually been able to see all of these with our own eyes.
We've got 2 sets, some caster coaches, there's a little bit of rolling stock.
Yeah.
Not a lot yet, but that will be the second release apparently.
Right.
French narrow gauge layout Montresor. This is a representation of an ancient village in the Laurie Valley, which does not actually have a narrow gauge railway. But it does have a rich variety of stone, brick and timber buildings with tiled roofs. These buildings are weathered and distressed over time, and that's what Bob likes to model. Bricks are cast using moulds and individually laid, just like in real life. Rendered walls with scribbled stones, sometimes broken and reassembled. Cast tiles and distressed timbers are used to create this complete picture. Now, there were also a number of other layouts there, like Blake's Magic Marble Run, NT Junction from the NMRA Division 6, and Decker. Unfortunately, I just didn't quite get enough footage of them, but I guess there's always next year. Now let's take a quick look at some of the retailers and trade stands that were at the exhibition. You had Train World all the way from Melbourne, Burford Tools, Junction Models, Somerset Models were there, of course with Trackside Models, who once again did make this video possible. On-Track Models were there with a newly released South Australian Railways Louver van. 3D manufacturer Can Do Workshops was also in attendance, as well as Orient Express. Broad Gauge Models all the way from Victoria. Caleb's Rail Films was there selling his pictures and DVDs. Manufacturer SDS Models were there. As well as that, they also had their new Stony hoppers and of course extremely popular 900 class diesels. Osrail Model Trains, Astronics, PTY Ltd, and a few others, as well as Steam Ranger were also there in attendance. Now, I had a great time at the 2023 Adelaide Model Railway Show, and I hope you all enjoyed coming along. It was a great atmosphere, everyone was super friendly, and it was all very well presented, and well, hopefully I'll be back in 2024 to do it all again. Anyway, if you attended this exhibition, or perhaps you just had a favourite layout that you saw in this presentation, let us know in the comments below, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Of course, don't forget to be subscribed so you can keep up to date with all the videos that I have coming out soon. Anyway, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again at another model train show. Hooroo!